I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Board gamers love playing board games. I know it's crazy. What I mean is, don't overthink your holiday shopping for the board gamer you're trying to buy for. Trying to figure out what is that one perfect game that they want that they have not already purchased just shows how little you understand of our addiction. I mean, habit, hobby. Now, if there's a board game we really want, we don't have a lot of restraint. Now, all of that being said, today I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks for how to shop for your board gamer, as well as 10 games that I recommend that are currently available on either Amazon or Miniature Market, at least at the time of recording this, in various price points and in various genres, so you can figure out what best fits your budget as well as your gamer's interests. Tip number 1. A C-tier game, tabled and played, is more fun than an A-tier game that collects dust. And I know this kind of goes the opposite of what I normally talk about, grails, but for the sake of a shopping list, you're not out here trying to buy grails. And if you are, well, that needs to be much more custom tailored. So my biggest advice here is pick out a game that you think you'll play with your gamer, because that's going to be the most fun experience. After all, that's what your gamer wants to do, is play games with you. So sometimes the perfect game for the person you're buying for is a game that you're most interested in, because spoiler, playing board games is fun. There's very few that I'll play and not have a good time. Let me give an example. If I had a friend come over who brought a fresh copy of Monopoly. I know, calm down. I'd be so happy and thrilled to let him break it out on my table and us actually have a great time, because I love playing board games, even if it's not necessarily the best board game, or in this example, the literal worst board game. I will still play it, hands down. I will probably not be down for round 2. And also, to be clear, when I said I would break it out on my table, I meant my dining room table. Not my baby. It will be a cold day in hell before Monopoly touches my board gaming table. Tip number 2. Look closely at your board gamer's collection. What you might notice is that some designers start to show up more frequently. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 Reiner Knizias right there. 5. If you start poking around, and look, you have all my Splotters down here, you may find that they have a lot of games from the same publisher, such as Splotter or maybe Oink Games. You may find that they have a lot of games from the same designer. This is great. This is a great starting point. Now, all you have to do is figure out what are the good games from that designer or publisher that your gamer doesn't already have. Here's a tip how you do that. If you go to BoardGameGeek.com, you can actually search for that designer or publisher, and you can pull them up, scroll down to where it shows their top games, and even click the See All, and then rearrange by Board Game Geek ranking. Now, the Board Game Geek ranking is admittedly trash, absolute trash, but it serves a decent use here. It is a solid enough gauge of interest for how you'll be using it in this situation. And then you just got to look at their shelves and see which one they don't have. Now, tip 3 also involves Board Game Geek, and this one is a little bit more if the person is deeper in the culture. If you can figure out what their username is, you can probably just go to their profile and find their actual wish list of games they would like to have. Now, I'd still probably run it against their collection, because a lot of us forget to take games off the list sometimes. If they're like me, they don't have a Board Game Geek wish list. I just keep mine in the Notes app, which brings us to tip number 4, which is gonna sound crazy, which is just ask them. I promise you, any real board gamer, if they don't have a Board Game Geek wish list, they've got a notepad app like I do, or some other list that they keep track of the games they're most interested in. So they can get it to you with ease, I would say. Now, some of these rules that involve looking at their collection, if this is not someone that you actually live with or have easy access to seeing their collection, that may be easier said than done. Here's how you get around that. Just send them a text and say, hey, I got a friend I was talking to who's super into board games and I was bragging about your collection. Send me a couple photos so I can show it off. They will ask no questions. No questions at all. You will get photo dumped on. They will be so excited to do this. That's almost as good as a gift alone, asking a board gamer to show off their collection. So trust me, you can get their collection. Now, tip 5 is just pick one of these games I'm about to suggest you. If your gamer likes good games more than new and flashy games, this list is great. If the person you're buying for is a Cult of the New type gamer, if they like Wingspan, buy them Flamecraft. If they like Cards Against Humanity, stop being friends with them. But seriously, let's get into these games. Coming in at number 10 is Clask. So it's a dexterity game. If you're familiar with Crokinole, I call it the poor man's Crokinole. I think it's going for $60 on Amazon right now. It is one of those games that is just a non-stop joyride. I challenge you to put 2 people at a Clask board and them not have a good time. It is a game that when they open it, everyone there is going to collectively be playing it that day. Everyone's going to take turns. Moving on. Number 10. I've got a copy of this one close by. Star Wars deck building game. This is an entry-level deck builder that is still a ton of fun to an expert deck builder. If they like deck builders and they don't have this game, this will be a home run. I think it's literally $25 right now on Amazon. That is a steal. It is a 2-player game. If you like Star Wars, the theme's great. If you don't, it's still a great game. It's a very streamlined deck builder. So I would say even if they aren't familiar with deck builders, this is a killer place to start. Every person I've talked into getting this game, I mean, they have just about worn it out playing it so much. Number 8. So this one is following a video I just recently did. This is Acquire. So I was showing off it's around here somewhere, 1999 Avalon Hill version, which I love. But on Amazon for $45, you can actually get the new, Renegade Studios, I believe. Phenomenal. It's very similar to mine, slightly smaller, a little bit more modernized. It even has an alternative way to play it, which is very fun and speeds it up. If they like economic games, if they like any kind of competitive games where there's a little cutthroat. Okay, so number 7 is Ra. Specifically the 25th century reprint, which mine is the Pharaoh edition, but on Miniature Market right now, they have the regular edition for $36. I think it's $50 on Amazon. $50 is a good deal for it, but $36 is a steal. I don't even know who I wouldn't suggest this game to. If they are a board gamer, Ra is like, it's foundational. It's an incredible game. Ra is, it's hands down one of Reiner Knizia's greatest games. He is one of the greatest designers of all time. I'm trying to think of who I wouldn't suggest getting Ra for, and I'm drawing a blank. It's just, if they don't have Ra, that's probably a slam dunk. Number 6, Scout. So this game very well could have been number 1 on the list. What I love about Scout is, if they're an Oink Games fan and they don't have Scout, then just stop watching this whole video and go buy them Scout. Done. But if they don't have like a crazy Oink Games collection yet, this is a great starting point. It's an incredibly simple trick-taking game, and I don't know if it truly fits the definition of trick-taking game, but everyone calls it that, so I'm going to call it that. And you're basically taking turns just trying to outdo the last player's set, and it's just, it is so streamlined, so perfectly designed. I've shown Scout to so many people, and everyone's loved it. I had a Barnes & Noble's close by that had a bunch of copies, and usually it's pretty hard to find like at a retail store. I just bought up a bunch of copies just to have on me. So if I played with a friend and they loved it, I'd be like, oh, keep it. I got more at home, like 4 or 5 more copies, in fact. And it's like my go-to gift game. Especially since this is even a game that if the person you're buying for isn't even really a board gamer, buy them this one. This is a great introduction to the hobby, or someone who just doesn't have a big collection. This not being number 1 tells you how good this list is going to keep getting. Oh, and Scout is currently $23 on Amazon, if I didn't mention that. Okay, number 5 is the newest reprint of Survive, Escape from Atlantis. It is, again, kind of like Acquire, that it's a bit cutthroat. It's a bit... what am I talking about? The whole game is Take That. So it has you basically... there's an island that all of your little meeple are on that is currently sinking, and tiles are disappearing, and there's a sea monster and sharks and whales, and your little meeples are trying to escape, and it is nonstop laughter. It is so funny. It is so much fun to play. It's one of those games that, even though it's really in your face, kind of Take That, it doesn't take itself too serious. You know, it's kind of got that comical thing going. So it doesn't feel like, you know, you're just getting gut punched over and over. It may be a little bit more situational. If the person you're buying for, again, does not like the Take That mechanic, then dodge this one. If they do and they don't have this game, especially if they hadn't heard of this game, this will be a serious home run. It's $40 on Amazon. I think that's normally about what it goes for, so it's not like some crazy deal right now, but it thoroughly worth $40. Okay, so number 4 is Mission Red Planet. This is another game that I have gifted more times than I can count. It's one of those games that I will gift and then just buy myself another copy. What's weird is I think this one is technically out of print, but it's always available on Amazon. So I guess they just had a huge stock, and I think it's $22 currently on Amazon. I mean, that's such a steal that even if you buy another game on this list, maybe buy this one too. I mean, for $22, this is an interesting genre mashup. A lot of board games will take 2 genres and kind of mash them up, you know, and make a game out of it. So you get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But not too many have taken area control and party game and made a game out of it. It is fantastic, which is what makes it so special, is because it's basically an exaggerated party game. Why I love it so much is because I don't exactly love tabling party games, but when you have newer players or groups that don't meet up that often, you kind of always have to mix some party games in, or maybe that's just how you like to start your board game night, something light. Everyone's got to have a few party games in their collection. This one is like a party game with meat on the bone. It's so good. It's really fun with that little party game, Take That card, because I could be playing a card that completely screws over the card you played, kind of ruins your turn. It becomes a laughing moment. You know, it's comical. You're not like serious, you know, it's not going to piss anyone off. In fact, if you've ever played Libertalia, or if the gamer you're buying for has Libertalia and not this, I think the card system in this is what Libertalia should have been. And since it's got that little area control where you're actually landing the astronauts on the ships, it's so fun. It's so exciting. It adds just enough to make it feel like a real board game instead of just a party game. And also, it's really funny. Some of the cards you play, you can actually blow up spaceships. So you can have like opponents all load up on one spaceship and they know where they're going. You just detonate that thing. Sorry, guys. So now we're moving into top 3, and it's very cream of the crop from here. It's also going to get a little pricey on 2 of these. So number 3, and I have a copy up there, is Sandy Peterson's Cthulhu Wars. I could make a whole episode on that sentence and everything that comes along with it. But for today, we're just going to say it is a brilliant game. If they like big box elaborate games, this game normally on the secondhand market, I think it normally sells for like $250. Right now it's on Amazon for $170 brand new. It is an absolutely brilliant, surprisingly easy to learn and teach gigantic board, just complete table hog. The box weighs a ton, and the miniatures are just enormous. It is a game that if you table it at a convention, people are going to come around just to sit down and watch a few turns, just because the board and the pieces are that just spectacular, immaculate. You know, it just demands attention. I'm not going to say that there aren't some shortcomings of the mechanics, but it's nonstop fun, absolutely. And if you're looking for something in that pricier range, it's a solid deal for that game. And if they don't have it and they're a board gamer and they like, say, Risk, Axis and Allies, I mean, it's, when I say a home run, I mean a grand slam. So moving into number 2, Spirit Island. It is currently $44 on Amazon, which is over 50% off, making it almost as cheap as the little cheap smaller box version they made. To get the base game, the bigger version, I couldn't not include it on the list. It's too good of a deal for gamers who like cooperative games. It's most of their number ones. If you're buying for a gamer and they are really into cooperative games, or even if they just like cooperative games, this may turn into their number 1 game of all time. The people I know that like this game, I'm telling you, they would just have this game in their collection. And number 1, coming in strong. I'm gonna do one more big price point. This will be the most expensive one on the list yet. Not by a lot. It's gonna come in at $180 on Miniature Market. So just $10 over Cthulhu Wars. It is Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. So if your gamer missed out on the Kickstarter, then they're probably like me and every other gamer that missed out on the Kickstarter, and they are kicking themselves and they desperately want this game. I cannot believe there are still copies on Miniature Market for $180. It's honestly mind-blowing. I expected to see this game not selling for under $220, $240 for the next at least entire year. So if you're okay with that price point, you know, after shipping, you're talking about $200, then it will absolutely be a grand slam. It's another game that it's foundational. Most real board gamers immediately recognize it. Most real board gamers immediately recognize this edition and want this edition. And another thing about it is you're giving them a game that even if they don't like and it doesn't outlast, you know, other games in their collection, it's going to be worth a lot more than $180 for a while once all of those retail copies on Miniature Market sell out. And hey, at least you gave them something they can resell for a solid amount of money if it just isn't for them. And I'm not one to just say, oh, go out for this Deluxeified Kickstarter FOMO, but this one was a win. I've said in a previous video, you don't get too many A-tier games from Kickstarter. This was one of them. This was one of the few. So that's our list of 10. Definitely any of those would be solid choices for most gamers. But you know, you've got to kind of apply that to the person you're buying for. You've got to apply it to your budget. There's games on this list of all price ranges. So yeah, I appreciate you tuning in. I do want to remind you that we do have a giveaway. Bus. This is the Deluxeified Kickstarter edition, new in shrink, never opened. We are giving this away. I think currently they're selling for about $250, $350 on eBay, but earlier this year, these were selling for like $500 to $700. So I don't know what the dip is about, but probably in the next year, it's going to be back up there, which is weird because the retail version is selling for the same price as this one. Usually the retail is in the $2s, and then the deluxe one is way out of the $2s. The rules are simple. All you got to do is be a subscriber, and every one of my videos that you make a comment on will get you one entry per videos for Bus. I don't know exactly when we're going to run it, but hey, what's it hurt to join in for a copy of one of the greatest games ever made? Again, my number 2 of all time. All right, well, you guys have a good time, and good luck on your holiday shopping.